What if branding wasn't just for corporations? What if it could be for all of us? Now, before you look at me as just some other corporate guy up here, really think about this for a sec. What if every single one of us could represent ourselves just like those world class brands represent on their beliefs, their message, and their values? Imagine if we could all represent ourselves in that same way on an individual level. You know, from the outside, most people look at me and they see this motivated, this driven guy. I have a supportive wife. I have 3 wonderful children. I moved up quite fast on that corporate ladder to now running a successful business. You could say I have it all. I mean, what more could I have really asked for? But something was still missing, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I kept asking myself over and over and over again, is this really it for me? That train of thought led me down this path of personal growth and self-discovery that ultimately transformed my life. It started to fill this internal void, and it opened myself up to new vulnerabilities and even opportunities. And as I started down this path of personal growth, I realized something. I was really developing myself. With this in mind, I started to work on more personal goals. I allowed more people into my life, and I started to become more centered around my values. Funny thing was, I was putting myself through a very similar process that I put my clients through. How ironic, right? I develop brands for a living. And now I was rebranding myself. You see, branding isn't just about that logo. It's not about that color scheme. It's not about throwing some random word up on a wall that 99% of the time means nothing at all. It's so much more than that. Branding is something that helped me develop who I am, who I wanted to be. And this had me thinking, what if I could actually help people grow personally through those same branding principles that I put my clients through? And this led to the 3 pillars of branding that, if utilized, we can all consider ourselves a brand. I call them connection, confidence, and contribution. Connection. It's this journey of self-discovery. It's a continual path towards us building those meaningful relationships built around other people. And before I started down my path of self-discovery, I had this resistance towards myself. I was spiraling into complete burnout. All I wanted to do, all I could do was just sit behind a desk, go through those motions over and over and over again. I mean, I wasn't even challenging myself. And as we all know, that could lead to complete exhaustion. I was so disconnected from myself that I was having little to no conversations with my team, my friends, even my family. And this sense of disconnect was actually pushing me backwards. So how do we find this sense of connection with ourselves if we don't even know that it's something that we're missing? Let me give you an example. Within the branding process, we develop these things called brand values for our clients. Brand values are really just this representation of your team and the work culture you're developing. They're the bedrock on what keep a team motivated and connected with one another. And while I was working down my path of personal growth, I had to look back on my values, start utilizing them as my guide towards those people I wanted to connect with. So what did I do? I started a plan. What would make Zach Colman happy? I looked at my past. I looked at those things that caused a little bit of that exhaustion. And even some of those things I had a little bit of future resistance towards. And I started to build my life around my values. I started to reflect on my past actions. I started to go to the gym again. I started to go on runs like I used to love to do. And most importantly, I started to prioritize my family again. This in turn allowed me to open up more, learn from my team, and transform some of those quick and fast conversations to team meetings. We'd spark new ideas together that resonated with all of us. That connection allowed us to start working towards common goals, if it be with that team or if it be with my family. You see, connection is key whether you want to grow that team, you want to build or maintain your relationships, or like me, you just want to be more present around your family. When was the last time you built a business plan around your life? You took your values and you engineered a strategy around them. And how far could we all go if we took our values and we utilize them towards those activities that bring us that joy and that connection that we want in our lives? Now, the more we start connecting with ourselves, start living out those values, the more confident we become. Which leads us to our second branding principle, confidence. This allows us to open up more, be more vulnerable, and okay, just making some of those mistakes. As I mentioned, I was going down this path of self-discovery, but I still wasn't able to reflect upon myself, learn from some of my past failures, and everyone could see it. My friends, my family, they saw this lack of confidence in the way I was representing myself. I didn't feel confident in myself. I wasn't leading myself. So how could I really have led others? There was this pressure of perfectionism, and it kept pushing me towards roadblock after roadblock in my life. You know, I remember when my first child was born. I actually pushed my family out the door faster because I had this important client meeting I had to get to. Looking back, I failed my family. I wasn't there for them when they needed me the most. What would happen if I were to own that mistake? If I would have allowed myself to lead by example and own that past failure? My friends and my family, they would actually look up to me more for my ability to build confidence to push beyond that failure. You see, I was no longer driven by this need of feeling seen, feeling heard, but I was molding this new definition of success around my rebrand, a renowned sense of life, so to say. In 1943, there was this paper written called The Theory of Human Motivation, written by A.H. Maslow, which is now known as Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, where he states, our ability to act upon our failures is really just due to that limiting space and motivation to reach our own vision. I mean, think about it. When faced with a mistake, large brands and their long-term vision act as their guide, pushing them forward beyond all their past failures. I mean, I'm standing up here with all of you today. This is going to be distributed amongst one of the largest channels on the internet. 2 years ago, this wasn't even a part of my vision. We all have this ability to own our mistakes, overcome those past failures, to achieve what we want out of our own vision. When was the last time you looked at some of those mistakes? You started to create a vision around them, and how far could we all go if we utilized our past failures to reach that vision for what we want out of our lives? Now, while confidence is all about that ability to act upon those failures, contribution is the heart behind our actions. Earlier, I talked a little bit about this void that I had. Well, it was almost gone, but it was still lingering just a little bit. I was trying to help so many people, but I still lacked my understanding of how I could help them because I first needed to understand who I was, who I wanted to be. And you can't really help others if you first haven't helped yourself. Growing my brand wasn't about the bank account. It wasn't about marketing to other people. It was about contributing to the greater good of who we all are, thinking outside of ourselves so that we can make that impact on all of us. If we could all find ourselves fulfilled and start to actually self-actualize, we can become stronger. We can start to strengthen the people around us. Sometimes we just need to remember why we're helping somebody. Sometimes, though, we get so disconnected that we fall into this trap, go through those motions over and over again. As humans, we're not meant for that. We're not meant for this constant cycle of feeling good enough, feeling wealthy enough, feeling well enough. I heard this story a few months back. There was this pizza joint out of Montgomery, Alabama that started this pay it forward type campaign where they started to leave Post-it notes for anyone who was in need of a meal. A local citizen came up with this idea after he saw other cities doing something similar. This idea spread like wildfires. People from all over started to leave these Post-it notes for anyone who was in critical need of a free meal. And with the backing of that pizza joint, they all made it possible. It's proof that no matter how small you are, no matter how much money you have in your account, even that smallest contribution can make a difference to the world around you. We don't have to rely on those large brands to make those contributions for us. We all have this ability to focus our efforts on whomever we want to help, just like that local citizen and pizza joint did out of Alabama. When was the last time you went with your heart first? You found that audience that you wanted to contribute to? And how far could we all go if we started to rely on each other to start making those differences? I want you to forget everything that you've heard about branding, logo, color scheme, a random word up on a wall that usually means nothing at all, and think about what it can be. At its core, branding is when large corporations figure out who they are, align that to their brand image, utilize that image to communicate in all different forms to their audience. But just like those large brands, we can become lost, misaligned, even stuck. Imagine what will happen when we all start to decide to start looking at ourselves just like those large brands look at themselves. It doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom, brand owner, leader of an organization, or you're just trying to lead yourself. We all have this ability to live out our own values, make mistakes, and help somebody one person at a time. Connection, confidence, and contribution, they're not just branding principles. They're building blocks of growth that guide us to who we all are. Thank you.